I'm Grant Hardy, the host of The Pulse. And on this show, I interview advocates from the disability community about stories and topics that matter most. The Lions Club has been serving the blind and low vision community for 100 years, beginning all the way back in 1925 with Helen Keller. They've even garnered themselves the nickname Knights of the Blind. And to mark this 100-year milestone, the 100 Mile House chapter of the Canadian Council of the Blind has planned some celebrations for 2025. Here with me today to talk about this story is Lori Fry, the Director of Public Relations and Fund Development at the 100 Miles chapter. Sorry. Here to talk about this story is Lori Fry, the Director of Public Relations and Fund Development at the 100 Mile House chapter of CCB. Hey, Lori, welcome to The Pulse.
Hi, Grant. Thank you.
Wondering if you could just describe your work with the Canadian Council of the Blind and a little bit about the organization, how they support members across Canada.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your interest in our chapter. As you've already mentioned, the 100 Mile House and District Blind and Visually Impaired White Cane Club, our full name, is a chapter of the Canadian Council of the Blind. And we've been in the 100 Mile House area for 34 years now. And sorry.
That's okay. What kind of services do you offer to support members? What exactly is the White Cane Club, for those who aren't familiar?
That's a perfect question because it's in spelling out or speaking my name, the full name of our chapter, I chuckle a little bit because it's been controversial amongst our own members. And the White Cane Club portion of our name is interesting to begin with because many, many years ago, a lot of the chapters of the CCB were known as White Cane Clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And at one time, the internal structure changed and we became chapters. At the time, we were told that you could keep White Cane Club as part of the name. Anyways, without going into too much history about our name, the White Cane Club, again, for a lot of the general public, not necessarily knowing what a white cane is and what we're all about. But generally speaking, we are as already mentioned, a chapter of the Canadian Council of the Blind. And we offer local, basically support, social and recreational support to individuals entering the vision loss journey. And also sighted members are part of, our organization. But within the club itself, we offer social and recreational opportunities along with peer mentoring and everything becomes intertwined. So I don't know where over speak. I could keep going, but I'll stop there for now for you.
So, for example, you would offer like the get together with technology, right, where members can learn about assistive technology. Do you have that program there, or what are some of the highlights there from your chapter of the CCB?
Yes, thank you, Grant. Again, I'm trying to keep those levels separate as well because yes.
Okay.
It's quite all right because the GTT program, which is, I'm glad you mentioned it because especially in our modern world of technology, is the Get Together with Technology program established at our national level of the organization. And it's delivered to community members, CCB members, and general community members introducing technology. So our members do have access to that program through the division level of the CCB, as well as, again, extending to the national level. But we don't offer actually hands-on GTT program sessions here in 100 Mile House. Now, having said that, part of the peer mentoring is members helping members in learning technology. So we do a lot of discussion and interaction with technology as well.
So peer mentoring, I mean, peer support is just key for everybody. But I would think outside of a big city center, Vancouver, Toronto, there's, dare I say, a reasonable level of support. I mean, things, of course, can always be improved. But in a smaller community there, like 100 Mile House, I would imagine that peer support for people new to the journey, moving along the journey is really, really key.
Absolutely. The probably the most first and most important. Um, it's a it's 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 quite a frightening, so to speak, experience when you're first losing your vision. I mean, anybody can attest to that, even in their mid 40s. I mean, if it's not caused by something more severe, just natural aging causes a shift in vision, and it affects people very, very harshly, really emotionally.
Yeah, Lori, for those of us, such as myself, who've been blind since birth, it's really important to understand that perspective that when you lose your vision later in life or start losing it, that is really a paradigm shift, wouldn't you
Yes.
say?
And I think it's a really good, important point to talk about, Grant, because I myself have not been blind since birth, but I have a genetic condition that has affected me since birth.
Mhm.
So, as much, I mean, there's no good way to go blind, okay, whether it be slow or fast. But I think you and I could attest to the fact that you have a little more preparedness time, preparation time. If in fact it's a slower development or you've been born with it, you're adjusting from the start. What I've really come to learn, and the relevancy between seniors and us in the blind community, the alignment is so there because I have very much learned that a lot of vision loss is due to aging.
Mhm.
And I have been, working with individuals for many years and learning myself that there's no doubt, like many of us over the years have wondered that which way would be worse to lose your sight. And we're not here to analyze that because there is quite a debate in that. There's no good time.
Mhm.
There is no good time. And but I can say now that it's got to be much harder to lose your sight at a later point in life when you are aging as well. There's a lot of conflicting factors in the equation, and yeah, I would conclude it's much harder
Yeah.
later on.
Oh, 100%.
Mhm.
Absolutely agree. This might be a good time to talk a little bit about eye health, raising awareness for eye health. It seems to be a really prevalent issue today. Can you talk a little bit about how you're doing that, why that's especially important right now?
Oh yes, it's huge. Well, so many things. As soon as you pose the question, a lot of thoughts flood into my mind. So I'll try to sort that out and speak intelligently here on this. Education, I mean, about anything. As humans, we all need education, and especially in the health department. And I think it's important to talk about eye health because, because it's often not reversible.
Mhm.
And as we know, a lot of prevention can avoid troubles down the road. I think it's important to talk about it because it will happen to almost everybody. I'm not a doctor and don't claim to be, but again, with the lived experiences I've had and the associations with individuals in the blind community across this country, I've come to learn that the average person takes their sight for granted. The average person will be devastated if they lose it, and there's so many things. So many people's reactions are, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know."
Mhm.
So that's why it's really important.
Just wanted to throw this out there as well, as someone who also is not a doctor. But I think people who are even totally blind can take our eyes for granted. My eyes, they don't hurt me. They're stable. Uh, I'm not I'm totally blind, so it's not like my vision is changing. But somebody actually pointed out to me that I should still be getting my eyes checked because sometimes the eyes can be really keys to other aspects of your health, and some of those changes that maybe normally would be visual related, that is the first sign perhaps of a change in your health, you might not notice if you can't see. So really important to get your eyes tested no matter what the condition is.
Agreed. Yes, and as I am losing my sight almost completely now as well, I've said to myself, "Well, why do I need to see an ophthalmologist?" But then I remind myself it's because the eyeball itself, yes, can detect other health conditions.
That's the idea. So,
And the fact that the overall eye health of the eyeball, because for the general listening audience, they might also not know that in some cases individuals have to first they go blind, and then they have to have their eyeballs actually replaced with artificial ones.
so that's really important to.
Mhm.
Uh, I was going to say keep an eye on. That's a very inappropriate term.
That's
Perhaps
fine.
definitely monitor that closely.
Mhm.
So really appreciate that peer support and advocacy that you guys do. And let's shift ahead here to 2025 and talk about some of the initiatives happening this year. So as we mentioned, CCB is honoring the services Lions Club has provided to the blind and partially sighted community. So let's talk a little bit about the Helen Keller story. Obviously, a lot of people are familiar with the story, but maybe aren't familiar with the connection to the Lions Club. Uh, Tell us a little bit about, recap the story for us, if you would.
I would love to. I'm not the expert, but I hold a lot of pride and gratitude to our Lions members. And so it was sort of like a prelude to 2025. I've been looking at this since 2023, anxious for this opportunity to showcase, honor, and highlight the work of the Lions clubs and the connection to Helen Keller.
Mhm.
And in general, it happened as simple as this, that in 1925, Helen Keller attended an international convention of the Lions, and she challenged them to become the Knights of the Blind in the crusade against darkness. And my next statement is basically the Lions accepted, and the rest is history. So for 100 years, globally, Lions members have been committed to the low vision community, and low vision and blind community, and became the Knights of the Blind. In fact, it was Helen Keller that used that phrase. She challenged the Lions to become, quote, the Knights of the Blind, unquote, and they have ever since become that.
So,
So,
mhm. Yep, go ahead. Sorry.
no, my apologies. Yeah, I was just going to say, so that's again why we are here to celebrate 100 years of commitment. The Lions, prior to 1925, they were already, serving the low vision community by helping wherever they could. I believe as far back at least as 1917. I'm not a historian either, doctor nor historian, and so the Lions have been committed to the low vision and blind community for forever, but that they made it. Like I said, it was more of a high profile commitment and accepting a challenge.
Yeah, so let's talk about that over the past, I mean, really century. But can you describe that commitment a little bit? Like, what services have they been able to offer to the community? Let's talk about that.
Well, I first want to clarify that for listeners out there that aren't familiar with Lions, the work of the Lions, some people don't even know who Helen Keller was. And the Lions, I want to make it clear that they don't. Their mandate isn't just to help individuals with low vision and blindness. They help everybody, but we
Yes.
have that. They have that special component because of Helen Keller's commitment. Their commitment to Helen Keller. Um, there's a special spot there for the low vision and blind community. And again, I can't speak to all their programming, but I know they do a lot of initiatives. They send, they collect used eyeglasses and send them overseas, and they have all kinds of initiatives for the low vision community. And again, a lot of financial support. I know locally that if we're raising funds to provide an individual with equipment and magnification, a lot of those magnifiers, well, this technology is fabulous, but it's
Hmm.
very, very expensive, as most of us know. And so the Lions are always out there in their communities, working hard, raising funds to distribute to all types of community groups, um, but have a special place in their hearts for the low vision and blind community because of the Helen Keller Pact.
Can you share a little bit about the Helen Keller story and how she ended up presenting to the Lions Club. There is some information on your website about it for people who, you know, aren't familiar, but maybe you can just summarize it real quick.
What would be the best way? Again, I want to caution our listeners that our viewing audience and listeners that I'm not the expert. Uh, but
So
Helen Keller grew up like she was a young child when she got a severe sickness that caused her to become deaf and blind. And through determination and the assistance of others and a special one-to-one teacher, Anne Sullivan, she was able to overcome a double challenge. Many of us can't imagine. It's hard enough to cope with one of those. She became very, very successful, very educated, and she traveled the world to share that education and knowledge and ask, inspiration of basically never giving up.
yeah, I mean, from where I'm standing, I know this is maybe a controversial sort of term, but I think of her as amazing, just because of really just being so groundbreaking in terms of the work she did and the advocacy that she did. So would really encourage people, if they haven't heard of the Helen Keller story, to check out your website, but also like seriously worthwhile to read about her. It's really an uh, important piece of history in the community.
Mhm.
So as we're entering 2025 and we're celebrating the Helen Keller story and its connection to the Lions Club, can you talk about some of the events and campaigns you have this year to honor that story, and what are your goals?
Absolutely. Um, it will vary at different levels of the CCB. And so I'll mostly speak to about my local chapter level.
Mhm.
I think, again, throughout the um, different divisions of the CCB and all the chapters we have across the country, um, there will be a variety and of events and or attention to this topic. So speaking for 100 Mile House only, um, at the moment, we're launching our media campaign for National White Cane Week, which starts on February 2nd. It runs February 2nd through 8th. And National White Cane Week is a special opportunity to bring awareness to low vision and blindness to begin with. But the 100 Mile House chapter is using that opportunity to also start out with our media campaign, highlighting and thanking the local Lions clubs. And from there, we are planning a celebratory evening later in May, mainly due to weather.
Mhm.
Uh, in the north here, sometimes when you plan events, weather could mess you up. So we thought we'd play it safe. It would have been a great time to host it during National White Cane Week, but we've postponed it until May, and we will have an evening with dignitaries, guests, and we will have the local Lions Club's members in attendance, and it will be a night for them to receive. And we're working on that mutual benefit of giving and receiving. So as much as they give to us, we want to give back. And I think most of us know that it's a win-win equation when you can give and receive. So yeah, we have that planned. Um, we had hoped to do a lot more than that, but as we all know, again, it depends on the ability, time, and energy of different individuals and your members. And so we still have a few things in the works. We're hoping that possibly we will be able to get our local theater to run the Miracle Worker film, which is a Hollywood movie that was based on the Helen Keller story. Sorry, I had some other ideas.
Oh,
We have some
I'm
other ideas on the table, but at the moment I'm lost them.
I mean, honestly, what you've described just so far is absolutely fantastic, and we'll definitely, you know, pop in a link to the website there. People can go there, monitor what's coming up, and that's going to be fantastic. Talking about media campaigns, one thing that you're doing this year, which I think is really cool, is raising awareness. As much as it's important to monitor our eye health, it's also really important to raise awareness for the potential of people with vision loss. Again, information about some of this is on the website. Do you want to talk about any people in the 100 Mile House chapter that you're specifically looking to highlight in some of your media campaigns?
Well, thank you. A good point. We have a variety of members, and this is it's interesting because often in the low vision or any community, when you use the word club, number one, that could turn people away.
Hmm.
So um, I want to, and then when we talk about blindness, they say a blindness club. So I guess it's only a place for blind people. Correction, no, as I've already indicated, we have a variety of members, variety of ages, and a variety of vision levels. Starting with members as young as, well, let me start a rephrasing of that.
Mhm.
Our youngest legally blind member is 16 years old. Uh, Her family, her brother, her parents, her grandparents are all members, supporting members. And then we go to as old as we have an 89-year-old member. And so we have a wide range in between. And in between the youth members with no legally blind, as I said,
Mhm.
um,
It's just so important because we've heard this so often, even in a city like Vancouver, that you can end up being possibly the only person, or one of the only people in your school, your workplace, your community with vision loss. I would imagine a smaller community that would be much more sort of common. So having that support system, not only maybe for a young adult or senior with vision loss, teenager, but also just their family, friends, siblings, whatever it is, to like raise awareness of sort of how to get back on the right path. That's just fantastic.
yes, I think it's about, again, having that support around you. And like I say, a variety of ages, a variety of level of visions. And it's basically one of our, I guess, one of our phrases is we're trying to help individuals discover life with vision loss, to understand that life is not over once vision loss happens. And yet, I could expand on all of what we've talked about in such more detail, but it it depends on your age when the vision goes. So there's so many things like if you were to go back in history or on the Helen Keller topic, for example, 100 years ago, blind people weren't doing what they're doing today.
Mhm.
Far from it. And I guess part of our campaign this year too is to educate others in showing the evolution of individuals with blindness as well, and the community as a whole, and I guess society as a whole, because it's technology and other things that have brought us to this point, including the support of family and friends. Absolutely very important. And coming back to our membership, um, it starts out, yes, with a young gal. We met her when she was 11 years old. She was losing her sight. Her family's totally behind her. They become part of this group. They learn more. We learn from them. I want to touch on, I think, again, a variety of members. We have a 71-year-old member that works part time at a local bakery. He's legally blind. He's retired, and yet he's just something that he wants to help fulfill his days. And we have this other couple that retired from the Lower Mainland, the Vancouver area, moved to 100 Mile House to retire. Had everything was perfectly planned. One starts to lose their sight. Thought the focus was on that. Next thing you know, the husband's losing sight too, so they're combating that. So again, a lot of family support, friendship support, um, and learning through our own chapter and the Canadian Council of Blind, being part of the low vision and blind community. Yeah, all these resources come together to help form where we are today.
And Lori, I just love so much what you said about, life isn't over if you lose your vision. Yes, of course, we should keep an eye on our eye health, keep an eye on the eye health. Nobody wants to lose vision, but there is so much more to life and things we can continue to do regardless of your level of vision, and that's fantastic. Just wanted to ask you one other thing here. We're in 2025. Where do you think things stand on advocating for the blind and partially sighted community, or where we are today versus years and years ago? How much further is there to go? Where are we?
Oh, I don't. I am very optimistic. I like to consider myself a very optimistic, positive thinking person. And so, but I've also considered myself a 360. And what's that, you say? Well, I look at things from all sides. And I have to say, as much progress as we've made in the blind community, we have a long way to go. And if I look back at 100 years, oh my gosh, um, many of my colleagues in the low vision community will say, well, Lori, but we've been working at this. You've been working at this for 34 years, for example, in 100 Mile House. And there's still people that say they don't know this, they don't know that. And I say to them, don't get discouraged. This is going to go on forever. So I'll conclude by saying just quickly that we've come a very, very long way. And for the general population, if they only really knew what individuals with low vision or no vision are capable of, they have no idea. It's endless. And I think even COVID helped show that, working from home, how many people in the disability community have, have have advocated and said we're very capable. We might have one disability, but we have many abilities, and please let us have the opportunity to show you that. Through COVID, those individuals that were employed were able to do that, showing that we can work from home. And but there's still so much work to be done, and hopefully we're going to just keep at it.
And that positivity in 2025 is really fantastic, and totally agree. I mean, there's certainly, few physical barriers, a lot of attitudinal barriers still to tackle, but the work that you guys are doing towards that goal, even in communities outside of the bigger cities, absolutely fantastic. I really hope that we will get you back on the show at some other time to talk about how things are going in 2025. But thank you so much for joining us today on The Pulse.
Well, thank you for your interest and the opportunity to share our chapter's information. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thanks again to Lori Fry from the 100 Mile House chapter and district from the Canadian Council of the Blind joining me today. Starting next week, The Pulse will air on Tuesdays and Thursdays on AMI Audio at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, and it'll repeat every 6 hours. We will continue to publish our new video podcast episodes on YouTube as well on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. As always, The Pulse is available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Grant Hardy. Thanks for joining me on The Pulse.